also knock you out. He literally does everything. He's one of the best wrestlers in the sport. His top control and his squeeze is insane.
Yeah.
Like, remember when he tapped out Drew Dober? He got a hold of Drew Dober. It's like Drew Dober had zero chance of.
Ilia Topuria has been relentlessly calling for a shot at Islam Makhachev's lightweight title. Still, UFC commentator Joe Rogan has issued a stark warning that has the entire MMA community talking. According to Rogan, Topuria could be walking into a fight he simply cannot win. Let's dive into this developing story. On a recent episode of the Joe Rogan Experience, the longtime UFC commentator didn't mince words when discussing a potential Topuria vs. Makhachev matchup. Islam looked like Michelangelo sculpting, "You don't fight Islam on 10 days' notice. He's as good as it gets. He's the most complete fighter on the roster because he submits people like he submitted Poirier in the final round. He can also knock you out. He can literally do everything. He's one of the best wrestlers in the sport. His top control and his squeeze is insane. And, Topuria, you're like, he's in real trouble."
So he wanted to go up and fight Islam Makhachev at 155. And Topuria, he's in real trouble. Islam looked like Michelangelo sculpted him. You don't fight Islam on 10 days' notice. He's as good as he's the most complete fighter on the roster because he submits people. Like, he submitted Poirier in the final round. He can also knock you out. He literally does everything. He's one of the best wrestlers in the sport. His top control and his squeeze is insane. And
this isn't just casual commentary. Rogan has been cage-side for nearly all of Makhachev's UFC fights and has witnessed firsthand the dominance the Dagestani fighter brings to the octagon. His warning comes at a time when Topuria has been adamant that he deserves an immediate title shot at lightweight without fighting any contenders first.
Ilia Topuria is closing in on Islam Makhachev's lightweight throne. El Matador has officially vacated his UFC featherweight championship, making his long-anticipated move to the lightweight division official. Dana White confirmed the news, revealing that Topuria felt he had achieved everything he set out to do at 145 pounds and could no longer make the weight comfortably.
His body cannot make the weight anymore, so Topuria will be moving up to 155 pounds and will be vacating the featherweight titles.
While the decision is both surprising and expected, it's rare to see a young champion willingly relinquish a title so soon, something only Conor McGregor has done before in the UFC. However, Ilia has been vocal about his plans to take over the 155-pound division, and now that mission is underway.
The lightweight title picture is currently experiencing unprecedented uncertainty. After defending his belt against Alexander Volkanovski twice, Islam Makhachev has been clear that he wants Topuria to prove himself in the division before receiving a title opportunity. Fellow lightweight Mateusz Gamrot recently echoed Rogan's sentiments, stating, "For me, interesting fight, but I don't know. Topuria is a small guy, Islam is a really big guy, and I don't think that Topuria has a chance against him. If you want to fight with Islam, you have to be a big guy, similar like him, because he's good everywhere. But if your body is smaller than his, you don't have a chance, for sure."
Fair or unfair if Ilia Topuria fights for the title in his next fight?
He was champion in the featherweight division. Maybe this is fair. Maybe no. This is politics, in the UFC. Too many movement. For me, interesting fight, but but I don't know. Topuria is small guy. Islam is really big guy, and I don't think that Topuria has changed against him. If you wanna fight with Islam, you have to be like big guy, like similar like him, because he's good everywhere. But if your body is smaller than him, then you don't have change for sure.
Despite these warnings, Topuria has remained steadfast in his pursuit, stating that he is only interested in fighting for the title and not a #1 contender spot. One of the main concerns raised by both Rogan and others in the MMA community is the size difference between these two champions. Topuria's coach has revealed that the former featherweight champion walks around at 185 pounds, which is massive for a featherweight, but still potentially undersized at lightweight.
Did he vacate the belt, or did you guys say, if you're moving to lightweight, then we don't want to hold up the featherweight division?
No, he did that. He said, "I've done everything I can do here. I'm ready to move up." And he vacated it. He said, "I shouldn't be holding up anybody's opportunities, and it's always I respect when guys do that.
Makhachev, by comparison, is known to be one of the bigger lightweights in the division, with Khabib Nurmagomedov's coach, Javier Mendez, even suggesting that Islam could compete at 185 pounds if he wanted to.
They asked me then, since welterweight's probably out of the question, what I think about middleweight. And I said, well, that's a possibility, but Islam is a small guy, so he'd have to put on some muscle, if that was ever presented. He couldn't do it at the weight he's at now. That would be pretty tough. He'd have to put on some size to be able to go to 185. It can be done, but he'd have to put on some muscle in order for it to accomplish. But so the way I looked at it is we got one more title defense that he needs to do in the lightweight division to break the record.
During his podcast, Rogan emphasized this point. Everything is so sharp, his technique is flawless, his boxing is so dangerous, he's so big, so strong, so good. I would say at least minimum like 185, 190, his strength feels like 250 pounds.
Or they're the best. Everything is so sharp, his technique is flawless, his boxing is so dangerous.
He's so big. He's so strong, so good.
What does he weigh? What does he weigh like normal? Like right now, if you called him up, what do you weigh, brother? What do you say?
I would say at least minimum like 185, 190.
Fuck out of here. He's 210 pounds.
No,
It's not all doom and gloom for Topuria, though. The Spanish-Georgian fighter is undefeated at 16-0 and has shown incredible power in his hands, as evidenced by his knockout victories over Max Holloway and others. Rogan did acknowledge Topuria's skills, saying, "He's an animal, dude. He's a real problem because he's intelligent, he's dedicated, he's driven. He's got that kind of confidence that those championship guys have where they know they're the best even before they're the best."
Leapt him, face planted him, and walk-off KO. He's an animal, dude. He's a real problem because he's intelligent, he's dedicated, he's driven, he's got that kind of confidence.
The question remains whether Topuria's striking prowess would be enough to overcome Makhachev's well-rounded skill set, particularly his dominant wrestling and ground control. Looking ahead, there are two main scenarios that could play out. First, Makhachev could hold firm on his stance that Topuria needs to earn a title shot, which would likely mean Topuria facing someone like Dustin Poirier or Charles Oliveira first.
If anybody deserves a fight for the world title in the next weight class, it's you. It's simple. You knocked out Max Holloway. You knocked out Alexander Volkanovski, one of the greatest of all time. It's simple. That's a no-brainer.
Alternatively, the UFC could skip the contender fights and book Islam versus Topuria directly for International Fight Week, creating an immediate super fight that would risk shaking up two divisions at once. As Michael Bisping pointed out, both of these fighters are on incredible win streaks. If this fight happens, it's not just champ versus champ, it's two of the most unstoppable forces in the sport on a collision course.
Ilia Topuria versus Islam Makhachev, that should be the fight. If that doesn't happen, if Islam sticks to his guns, if he was to say, no, I want to fight the winner of Jack Della Maddalena versus Bilal Muhammad, because he is such a great champion, because he has taken short notice fights, because he's the most successful lightweight on planet Earth in the history of the sport, there ain't going to be any crazy talks of stripping Islam Makhachev. That just isn't going to happen.
Complicating matters further is Makhachev's long-stated desire to move up to welterweight and become a two-division champion. However, with his friend Bilal Muhammad currently holding the welterweight title, Makhachev has been reluctant to pursue that goal.
I mean, be careful what you wish for, right? You got a lot of guys in your division, you still have to fight. And Ilia's getting to that point, right, where you're undefeated, you're getting a lot of hype, so now you're just starting to call out and, play that game of trying to be like the next McGregor, but you don't want to mess with Islam because, like they said, it's different there. You want a street fight, they'll street fight you. He sees you, you disrespect him, he's going to show you what disrespect means from Dagestan.
When asked about fighting Bilal, Islam stated, "It's my dream, I want to fight for the second belt. But I would never fight him. He's my brother."
What about if he says you got to fight Islam?
I would never fight Islam because that's different. We train together, right. And when you're sweating with somebody and you're bleeding with somebody and you train with somebody like that, it's just a different relationship. So it wouldn't be about money for me or for him. I don't assume. So I would never want to do that. They've helped me so much. So for me, I would rather go up to 185 and let him just take 170 if that's the case. Since I've already had to fight my way up to 170 and I've been 10 guys, like I'm 2 fights away from being able to challenge that 185 and saying, hey, I want to be double champ. Like I think 185 is probably the easiest weight class besides Hamzat. You're like, bro, Strickland and Duplessis suck.
This friendship may be what keeps Makhachev at lightweight long enough for the Topuria fight to materialize, despite Rogan's warnings about the potential mismatch. As it stands, both fighters continue training while the UFC works behind the scenes to determine the next move. Topuria has already started his camp, tweeting, "The camp has begun," while reports suggest Makhachev is also preparing for his next title defense.
So with this extra 10 pounds, how much better do you think you'll be able to perform inside the octagon? Because I would imagine physically, as good as your performances were, and they were spectacular, your body could not have been operating at 100%.
You are going to see me at 155 that I'm going to touch someone and I'm going to take his lights out. I don't need to touch his chin. I just touch his head and it will explode. I feel so powerful at that weight class, so stable in the ground. Like, do you want to wrestle? Let's wrestle. No problem. And I have the gas tank for 5 days, not 5 rounds.
Will Topuria heed the warnings from Rogan and others, or will his confidence drive him to prove the doubters wrong? One thing's for certain, if this fight does get made, it would feature 2 undefeated streaks, 2 champions, and potentially reshape 2 divisions in one night. For UFC Fight Central, stay tuned for more updates on this developing story, and don't forget to like and subscribe for all your UFC news and analysis.